Welcome back everyone. So the latest holidays inspired me to do a recommendations video on some of the best Switch games to play with your family who normally never touch video games. I see a lot of the same videos on YouTube, including my own channel suggesting some good co-op games to play with casual gamers or significant others, but they come up with a lot of similar games. This video is for people who normally never touch video games. Family that when given a controller to play Mario Kart or Overcooked or even Mario Party would be lost and wouldn't really have any fun. These don't really involve the attempt to move a character around on a screen at all, so they can be picked up and played by almost anyone of any skill level with zero intention of ever playing video games on their own. I'm also including every Switch game in existence that allows players to use their cell phone as a controller, as these games can be a bit easier to pick up. To clarify, these are not games that can be played separately on your cell phone, but rather using your phone as an actual controller to play those games on the Switch. So let's get started. So starting off is the most popular game series on this list, and that's the Jackbox Party Packs. There are now 8 of these bundles that each contain 5 party games to play with your friends and family using cell phones as the controllers, some of which work with 10 players at once. Games range from quick drawing games to trivia to social deduction. The results are hilariously interactive and can be played over pandemic-proof Zoom calls with your family as well. Papa's Quiz is an almost Jackbox-esque style trivia game. There's nothing too fancy here, but up to 8 players can compete using a phone or tablet as a controller to answer trivia questions. I haven't personally had the chance to play this in a group setting, but if you like trivia and the Jackbox games, then there's really no reason why this wouldn't be something to try with your non-gaming family. Keep Talking and No One Explodes is more of a social bomb defusing experiment as much as it is a game. One player is tasked with defusing a bomb on screen, but has 0 instructions to do so. The other players have to relay the instructions from a manual. They have no idea what the bomb looks like. The game requires intense back and forth communication and is a blast to play with the right audience willing to try it. A game I reviewed not that long ago for this channel is Family Feud. The Switch version of Family Feud actually works great for hosting a big group of people who all want to guess or play along, with support in-game for up to 10 players, kind of like the real Family Feud. You simply pass the controller around to your family, and even if they have issues with navigating the on-screen keyboard, it is something that anyone can play along with when it's their turn to guess. 12 Orbits is a game I've briefly mentioned on the channel before, but is a top-down action game where up to 12 players control their own colorful sphere on the same screen at the same time. The game requires each player to press just a single button, so you actually only need a couple sets of Joy-Cons to play with even 12 people. It's extremely simple and can be a ton of fun in large groups. Pharlap is a horse racing game that I reviewed a couple of years ago, and I know it's kind of an odd choice here. The game itself has several issues, but where it shined was in its presentation and style, which makes it fun to watch for a larger audience. The reason it makes this list is it actually has a betting mode for 8 players where you can sit back and watch virtual horses race on screen and place bets, something that literally anyone can take part in. Sagrada is the video game version of a dice drafting board game that is actually pretty simple to learn. It essentially involves picking colorful die to place on your individual boards, limited in placement by the numbers and colors of what you drafted, along with some other objectives. It's like one part Yahtzee, something that everyone understands, and another part Sudoku, which I think makes it a super easy to learn game for almost everyone. Trivia Pursuit is a game that needs no introduction. You can get it on its own, or you can purchase part of the Hasbro Family Pack for the Switch. This is a decently adapted version of the most popular trivia-based board game ever made. It supports 4 players, and for the most part, answering questions is a super easy process that almost anyone can jump in with. What the Dub is a hilarious Jackbox-esque game where up to 12 players write custom phrases over old school video footage, and then players vote on which one they like the best after the game plays them back using a voice-to-text mechanism. Phones, again, can be used as controllers, so that makes it pretty much as easy of a pick-up-and-play game as you can get. One of the only games with an unofficial small player count on this list comes Ring Fit Adventure, specifically the mini-games that come with it. There are a decent crop of extremely interactive and easy to understand mini-games that are fun to watch anyone attempt and remind me of gaming with my family during the Nintendo Wii days. So there is some potential fun to be had here, and you don't really have to take the exercising portion of it too seriously. Big Brain Academy Brain vs. Brain is a family-friendly party and puzzle game featuring a ton of different brain testing, mini-games, and word games kind of like what you might play on your phone. You can compete against up to 4 players on the same screen, and it's as good as when these big brain games were super popular back in the Nintendo DS days, and to see it come to the Switch is a nice inclusion. Clubhouse Games 51 Worldwide Classics features a ton of classic board games that everyone knows how to play already. Games like chess, dominoes, Connect 4, Texas Hold'em, just to name a few. Because there is no hurdle to the rules for many of these, anyone can really join in no matter their gaming background and have a pretty good time. Alright, so let's shift from classic board games to a classic card game. Uno on Switch can be played with up to 4 players and works perfectly fine in its digital form. The only caveat is that yes, you can see the other player's hands if you're playing locally, which may be a deal breaker for a younger audience or families with people prone to cheating who take Uno way too seriously. Even though I'm not a huge fan of the Just Dance games, I would be hard-pressed to make this list and not include them. They are not for everyone, I know, but the Switch version of these games hold up as well as the Wii releases that helped launch this annual franchise over a decade ago. Even if you don't like dancing, the game can certainly be fun for anyone in a group setting and for all ages alike. So Death Squared kinda breaks my rules for this list, being a cooperative 3D puzzle game that actually involves some movement of an object on screen. That being said, it is not too difficult as most movement requires thought versus skill, and it's a hilariously good time if you can pick up on the simple controls, and is truly a blast at the 4-player count. Use Your Words is another seemingly inspired Jackbox party game where you will write captions or complete sentences over absurd scenarios, and then each player will vote on their favorite. You can use cell phones for your controller in this game as well, and it's fun just to watch, which means this could scale up from 6 players to more than that if you wanted. Knock 'em Down Bowling is as close to Wii Bowling as you can get on the Switch, at least for now, and I'll talk about that later. It does not feel as good as Wii Bowling did, but if you are looking for an interactive sports game to play in a group setting and want to try something with motion controls, then definitely consider Knock 'em Down Bowling to scratch that itch, and its price point is pretty inexpensive. The Telltale games are interactive story-driven experiences with simple choice-based controls putting the player at the heart of all those decisions. Why I'm putting it on this list, as most people don't know, is that they have something called a crowd mode, allowing players to vote on what choices the main player should make. It's mostly made for streaming, and I have no idea if it still works today, but does technically allow players with cell phones to join in, and could make for a laid-back gaming night with your family. Let's Sing is the karaoke version of Just Dance. While I personally have zero interest in ever playing these games and haven't yet, I know they could be fun with the right and younger audience. You don't need a real microphone either and can use your cell phone again as the controller, making it accessible for basically everyone. And finally, on this list is the digital version of the most popular board game ever made, Monopoly. Now, you could be like me and think Monopoly is actually a pretty boring board game, but it's ingrained in most of our heads and family that it's actually a fun time despite how slow it is. On a positive note, the Switch version of this game is actually well made, looks the part, and has support for up to 6 players locally. And with that concludes our list of 20 games to play with your family and friends who don't really play video games or ever have the intention of doing so. Hopefully, some of these can make the list on your next holiday gathering. Also, be on the lookout for the newly announced Switch Sports, a game that has not been released yet, but will surely deserve a spot on this list when it arrives later this summer. Peace out.